Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to our Welcome to We show. I love this time of the month. It's such a wonderful time to come together. I'm Karen Palmer. I'm one of your hosts here for the Welcome to We show. This is where we answer the question, what can we do together that we can't do on our own? We also invite you to share in the comments where you're watching from, and also to participate with our beautiful guests that we have. And we will be going into the 3 I's that make a we to inform, inspire, and involve. And those are your 3 I's that make a we. And that helps us to co-create a world that works for all of us. I'm so honored that I get to co-host this beautiful show with the amazing Rick Ulfik, who is the founder of We the World, and also the We campaign at we.net. Rick is the co-creator of 11 Days of Global Unity, which is coming up very quickly. 11 ways to change the world, with participants including Desmond Tutu, Jane Goodall, Deepak Chopra, Ensler, Bill McKibben, and many, many more. And we encourage you to share this out. If you could share it onto your timeline or share it to any of your groups or any of the pages you manage. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Welcome, Rick.
Hi, Karen. Here we are again with the Welcome to We show. Thank you so much, Karen. And just so people know about you, Karen Palmer is a global kindness leader and a live stream social media expert who co-produces several popular online talk shows, including this one. She is a best-selling author and is coordinator of We the World's campaign for women. You can reach her at globalkindnesstv.org. And first, before we start the show, I really want to honor and celebrate the lives of 2 remarkable civil rights leaders in the United States who died in the past few days, John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. We've made progress in the US because of them and the movements that they were a part of, and yet their work is not complete. It has now become obvious to large segments of our population that the triple intersecting pandemics of racism, inequality, and COVID-19 are disproportionately harming people of color. As a result, the movement for racial and economic justice in the US and elsewhere is continuing. Yesterday, in fact, there was a national strike for Black lives with dozens of major groups participating, like the Sierra Club and the American Federation of Teachers. So at this pivotal moment, we ask, how can we create a culture based on the idea that our collective well-being depends on the well-being of each and every member of our society? In other words, a we-based society. To talk about all this, we have an amazing group of people working to create a generation of world citizens. Arthur Kanigas, Carissa Raskin, Amy Renshaw, Akila Kudos, Sana Bobbin, and Sue Blythe. So let's start with Sue. Sue Blythe is founder of the Climate Collaboratory, a pilot project of We the World and We the World's campaign for the environment, as well as the University of Florida Extension. She is the grandmother of 8, doing what she can to make a sustainable, just, and peaceful world for them and their descendants. Welcome to the broadcast, Sue. And why don't you kind of lay things out, you know, what we can expect in the show today, perhaps starting with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that I know you like and I like, that talks about world citizenship, and perhaps you can connect that with the current movement to end racism and inequality with the Climate Collaboratory that you have started. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Rick. And Karen, I'm going to ask for screen sharing rights if I can. And probably Amy is going to need that also. I don't know anyone else wants to share the screen. Okay, and so what I'm doing is working with the We the World, and we've developed over the last 6 months or so the Climate Collaboratory. That is a pilot project with the University of Florida's Extension. And what we're trying to do is organize a community-wide climate conversation that includes everybody of all ages, and to involve as many people as we can in working together. And what I'd like to do is start out with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said, "This is the great new problem of mankind. We have inherited a large house, a great world house, in which we have to live together, Black and white, Easterner and Westerner, Gentile and Jew, Catholic and Protestant, Muslim and Hindu, a family unduly separated in ideas, culture, and interests, who, because we can never again live apart, must learn somehow to live with each other in peace." Well, that was at his Nobel Peace Prize lecture in 1964. And we come to the year 2015, when people from all over the world put together climate statements. And we have from most of the world's religions, the major religions have submitted climate statements. And the one from Pope Francis was an encyclical on care for our common home. And he said, "I urgently appeal then for a new dialogue about how we are shaping the future of our planet. We need a conversation which includes everyone, since the environmental challenge we are undergoing and its human roots concern and affect us all." So I'd like to just recognize that the human roots of the climate crisis really go back centuries to deal with the way things on this continent were started and affected the indigenous people here, the concern with slavery and the lasting effects of that even after emancipation and the civil rights movement. So we are delving into that and finding people who are already involved in this conversation and bringing that into the climate conversation, which is ongoing through people like the youth climate strike movement, all of that. So again, this is from different religions, and the Islamic Declaration on Global Climate Change, again in 2015, we call on all Muslims, wherever they may be, to tackle the root causes of climate change, environmental degradation, and the loss of biodiversity, following the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who was, in the words of the Quran, a mercy to all beings. And again, they're asking to get to the root causes of climate change, and that takes us into the historical perspective. And then our climate conversation and collaborative storytelling adventure that we're working on is based on the Earth Charter, which was launched in the year 2000. And so we're celebrating the 20th anniversary. And the closing, no, this is not the closing, but it says, to move forward, we must recognize that in the midst of a magnificent diversity of cultures and life forms, we are one human family and one earth community with a common destiny. And again, that's from the Earth Charter. So that is what I call setting the stage. And now the actors come out and get to tell their part of this story, because each of you who's come on tonight is part of that story. And we are working on telling the truth about our history, finding out who is doing what at this present moment, and where we want to go. And we're trying to write a new and healthy, happy story for the human family and life on Earth. And so I'd like to turn it back to Rick.
Okay. And I'd like to turn it over to Karen to maybe bring in our next guest, Aquila.
I would be so honored. Thank you so much. This is so much fun. Aquila Cadis is a mom, a mother of 3, a grandmother of 11, a homemaker, artist, community worker, and director of nonprofit Khadija Foundation, a humanitarian foundation that serves the needy and less fortunate. Aquila also serves on the board of the Welcoming Gainesville Committee and is an active member of the Daughters of Abraham interfaith group. Welcome and thank you so much for being here with us today. As this movement to end racism and inequality continues in the US worldwide, can you please speak about what this means for you? What a blessing to have you here. You're so beautiful. What a beautiful, beautiful person to be with. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're too kind with your words. Thank you. We always say it's a reflection of yourself when you see beauty in others. Yes, I'll start in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. So he guide our tongues and bring harmony and peace in this world. And you're so right. It's been very disturbing to me to see the course of the way the world has gone. And I'm one of those optimistic persons. I always feel very hopeful. I always feel that good will come through. I feel people are born to be good. God created man in the best of forms, and they are more inclined to be good than not good. So you have to work really hard to be bad, but don't have to work so hard to be good. So I think we can all get everybody together. I feel very about it. And I feel like we always have to go back to the root. God created us, and as a Muslim, in our Quran, it says he created us into nations and tribes so we get to know each other, respect each other, and get along with each other. If you really go back to Adam and Eve, when they were created, there was nobody. They came to one part of the earth, and the earth wasn't all these continents. People who study geography and all these things understand there was masses of land that kept moving and moving. So when we claim this is my space, this is my space, we're all a global community. We are all from this one earth that Adam and Eve descended in, and on. And this is the month of Zulhajj where we honor Prophet Abraham a lot. So in honoring him, I would like to say he was born and raised in Iraq, but when he grew up, he migrated to Egypt. He married Sarah, and then he married a Hagar, we say Hajra, and then he took her to the Arabian deserts. So you see how everything is moving around. So he had Isaac, he had Ismail, and then from them came Prophet Muhammad, all the prophets, and everybody came, and all these people got spread out. The whole world is connected through, just that 1-2 people that came, Adam and Eve, and we all. And being an artist, I always give the example of when I paint a portrait. If I'm doing a white person, I don't take white and paint it, and if I doing a black person, I don't paint black. I use the same color combination. except I use more blue when I paint a darker complexion, and I paint more yellow, put more yellow into it when I paint a lighter complexion. So we are all made out of the same mold of earth. And we need to start understanding that there is no superiority in man. The only way we can make ourselves better is by being of service to people, by making our soul has to glow from within. It is not our body. Our bodies are just a signature for our souls. And our souls, when they glow, our body glows. So it's very important. So I'd like to work with my children, my grandchildren, and tell them that we have to work on our soul. Keep it beautiful. Don't put hatred into it. Don't give everybody a second chance, third chance. Sometime or the other, they might come around. But at the same time, don't let anybody take advantage of you. You have to be strong. Don't let it, but at the same time, we have to be very wise and sensible. But we have to educate people too about ourselves. We can't all live in our little cocoons and say, it'll be okay. We have to go out there, like Sue says, we have to go out, we have to be active. We have to tell people our story. And this is the only way we can bring the world together. The world has become so good about culinary. They love all these foods. They eat food from all over the world. They're going to the best of restaurants and they want to travel, everything. They become very good tourists and very good at eating at restaurants, but they don't understand the people. And this is very, very sad. You know, they go to countries and they go as tourists, but they don't feel the people of the land.
It's so true. That's such a beautiful insight, and I really appreciate that. How are you connecting with this uprising in the humanitarian work that you do?
So I like to connect with the people.
Yeah.
I'm a people person. And when anybody comes, like even if a person comes to work in my house and we'll be talking, and before you know, we'll be having conversations of everything. And I realized if they don't know something we have, and before you know, we have developed a friendship, and we both have left each other with some messages. And I travel a lot. So when I'm traveling, I always go, I don't go as a tourist, I go as a person of that. But I had an uncle who lived to be 105 years old. He said, you should try to speak a language like the citizen of the country, not like learning language. So it's like, I'm not very good at learning languages, but you know, love is when I went to Italy, I spoke with my hands and then they understood it. You know, any country you go to, you speak with your heart and they understand you, and you can become a part of any part of the world. You don't have to look a certain way. You just have to belong there and respect them. And this is what I teach my children, my grandchildren, that we have to understand that we are all from one God, and we all have the same feelings, and we all want to be accepted. We all want to be loved. When my children were small, we're third generations American. So my children were small, they saw Sesame Street and they say, you are important, you or something. I forget the song also now. But I would say, no, it's not you, it's we. It's we, it's our, everybody is important. Because for example, if a doctor goes to see a patient, he or she might spend hours taking care of the patient. And at that time, they forget about themselves. They will stay the whole night, whatever, till the patient gets better. When the patient gets better, the patient is so happy, and his whole family or her whole family comes, and there's so much love around you. So when you give of yourself, you receive more love than you. But when you only think about yourself, you only have love for yourself. You have nobody else to give love to. You know what I'm saying? How it goes out, love goes out, it comes back in multiples. So it's the same thing like a teacher. She or he spends extra time with the student, and the student learns, and then the student brings back so much more to the teacher. So it's all about giving. It's not about receiving. So all these things, I think if we just start teaching, we just have to raise really good children. It's very important.
Yeah, that's my point too. I feel the same.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way. I think we can change so much of our world by educating our children to be more kind and compassionate.
And sadly,
but, the question, one last question that we wanted to ask that's really something so important is, do you think that we are at a tipping point where real change to address racial and economic inequality is actually inventable?
I think so. I have seen a big change. my husband was
inevitable. Sorry about that.
I got you. My husband was a cardiologist, so he started for the practicing in Fort Pierce in early 70s, and they were just getting segregated. So I saw things. For me, I don't see things through color and all that. I'm like very much into everything. But I used to, notice things were different. But it is so different now. It is very different now. People are the young people are going to change. The young people are the ones. That's why I wanted my granddaughter here with me. I mean, I feel so proud when I see these young people. They're so dynamic, and for them, all these things don't make any sense. It's just that, and they speak up to their parents and grandparents. What they tell them, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So they are the ones who are going to bring the change. But we just have to give them the right tools. We can't give them the cell phones in their hands and video games in their hands and tell them, okay, you can do it. That won't work. We have to give them more than that. We have to give them the world in their hands and say, here, this is your world. Take it and take care of it and preserve it, because it's yours to pass on to the next generation. So it's our job to just hold on to this beautiful world. It is such a beautiful world. God has given us the most beautiful things. And, we should hold on to it. Like Sue says, the environment, it needs to be taken care of. People need to be taken care of. Hearts need to be taken care of. Souls need to be taken care of. We need to put out a lot of love, and we need to raise good families. It takes a village to raise children. So we all need to come together. And I hope that's good for you.
Yeah, that was wonderful, Akila. Those are beautiful, beautiful insights, and you're so articulate in how you speak, and what a blessing you are to our world. And thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. I can't wait to have you on my show too. So I'd love to introduce you around to all of our community. I think you're very, very wise. And I believe that with all my heart, that the children are going to lead us, and we need to follow and understand, and also, like you said, give the right tools. And speaking of amazing wisdom, we have Rick to bring in our next guest. And
right.
I know that he is an incredible world citizen. So yes. Exciting.
Exactly. And it's so good to see you, Arthur. Our next guest is Arthur Kanigas, and he is president of Future Wave, and WAVE stands for Working for Alternatives to Violence Through Entertainment. He produced The World is My Country, a wonderful documentary film about world citizen #1, Gary Davis, and also Bully Proof, an arts and drama-based program to teach kids more powerful tools than violence to resolve conflicts and to get what they want out of life. Welcome to the broadcast, Arthur Kanigas. And I have some questions for you. Relating to what we were talking about before regarding the ongoing protests and the movement to end racism and economic inequality. The question is, how do you see that kind of continuing rebellion adding to world citizenship and global transformation that you've been working on for so long? And do you think that we are at a tipping point, as Karen was mentioning before? Do you think we're at a tipping point where real change to address racial and economic inequality is going to happen? Definitely.
Well, thank you so much. I love all of Akila's beautiful words and her beautiful spirit, and that she dwells in the positive. She truly dwells in Martin Luther King's World House and in Pope Francis's family of humanity, of man. And what a beautiful spirit. And I think this is all part of the rise of the human spirit. I think I like that that Akila said she sees, you know, the good even in the midst of darkness, and all around we see what looks like a world in just terrible turmoil, ripping itself apart. But it's actually the birth pains of an incredible birth of our humanity coming together. There's actually an incredible interconnectedness happening, even like the worst of crises, like this pandemic. It's throwing so many people into learning Zoom, learning how to communicate across the time and space, to communicate with people on opposite sides of wars and different barriers and so on. And we're just beginning to learn some of those mighty tools for intercommunication. So yes, there's some polarization, but at the same time, out of that tension and polarization, there's people coming together, learning how to break through, learning how to interrelate in beautiful ways. And I think, you know, my dad used to talk about that. He said that what we're seeing is kind of the rise of the human spirit. I know way back in the 40s, and Sue was telling me she liked this little quote of my dad's. My dad printed up on little cards a saying. It said, "Seek not to contest with evil, lest ye be taken by the spirit of contention. Rather, concern yourself with goodness, for in goodness is the leavening that makes the whole loaf rise." Well, I love that, because look at this. Here's this huge, big loaf of bread, and all we have is this little tiny half teaspoon of leavening. How can this little half teaspoon do anything about this big loaf of glob? Well, that tiny little leavening, that is what plants those seeds that grow and makes that incredible. And in the broil and the heat, where it would seem like it was impossible to have growth, it's actually growing and flourishing and coming out with a beautiful loaf of bread for all of us. And I think that we are in that rise of the human consciousness. I think we are coming together. The pandemic shows more than ever that what touches one touches all, that we are indeed citizens of one world, that there's no way you can put up walls and barriers and military. I mean, you know, people, it's so funny. You have something that fails, war. It never actually, there's this whole myth that starts in storytelling. You know, it says, that there's a hero, you know, the poor damsel in distress is being attacked by the terrible bully. The hero comes along, vanquishes the bully, and they live happily ever after. And in real life, whoever killed the bad guys and lived happily ever after? I mean, I don't think you can think of it, any person, but that story is so told over and over that we believe it happens. And in the world, we see, you know, the United States, for example, building up the most incredible military power in the world, bases all over the world, and then it's totally powerless when the planes strike, knock down the World Trade Center, when this virus comes to our country, and it's because it's the wrong tools. I mean, no matter how much military you have, no matter the fact that you have spend more than the rest of the world combined, doesn't make you one iota more secure. It makes us more scared, more insecure. What makes us secure is this connection of reaching and touching other people. Now, I made a movie about an incredible guy, world citizen #1, Gary Davis. And what an inspiring story he had. He was this song and dance man on Broadway, and he was so torn up about bombing the city of Brandenburg and his own brother being killed by the Germans, and thinking, oh my God, why wasn't I arrested for killing these people in their homes and schools and factories? Why weren't the people who killed my brother arrested? Why? Because outside of national boundaries, there's no law against killing people. You can kill people, you can't, it's against the law of a city, in a town, in a country, but it's not against the law in the world. Abolishing war, he discovered, is incredibly easy. You don't need all this big complicated stuff. You just have to have the same law at the global level. You just have to realize that my country, the world is our country. That's what our name of our movie is. The world is my country. And when the world is my country, well, if the world's our country, we solve problems by going to court. We don't blow up whole neighborhoods. Yes, there's still some crimes. Yes, there's still some people who do bad things, but you have techniques and you have systems to fix it. You have ways of handling it. But outside in the world, we've now got this chaotic state that is actually causing so many of these problems. You see, in the old days, originally corporations were under government, and in fact, the people, when we had the town hall meetings and so on, in the Jefferson's day, they'd get a charter for 20 years to do a certain thing, like build a railroad. If they failed or weren't doing a good job serving the public interest, it would be pulled. But because we, the people, are locked in these boxes called nation states, the corporations got more and more powerful and said, well, if you try to tax us, if you try to stop our pollution, we'll just go move elsewhere. You lose the jobs, you lose. Oh, no, no, no. And it came out that the corporations and money got on top, and we, the people, are underneath. And some people say, well, let's have campaign financing. We'll try to force them back down in the box. It can't be done, folks. The only thing that can be done is that we have to realize that indeed there is a superpower in the world, and it's us. Let me just sidetrack a little to answer your other question, which is tipping point. I was talking to a famous scientist, and he said, Arthur, I'm afraid that we're past the tipping point. The world is going to be destroyed, and as we're heading toward eliminating our thin, fragile environment this little thin layer of atmosphere that protects our whole planet. We're destroying it, and it's too late. And I said, well, as a scientist, you project from current trends, and as a scientist, you're 100% right. But I'm a movie maker, and as a movie maker, I know just when things look darkest, just when it seems so hopeless, just when there's one turmoil after another, and there's just absolutely no way the hero could ever do it, the hero makes an amazing breakthrough, saves the day, and saves the world. And so I asked Leonardo DiCaprio, I said, and I have this in our film, if you watch your film, I said, Leo, who's the hero who's going to save our world? And DiCaprio said, the hero is all of us. The hero is all of us. We all are the heroes who are going to save our world. And so while at the same time we're at the tipping point of a catastrophic climate event, we're at the tipping point of a nuclear war that will very quickly extinguish humanity without having to wait for this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. Well, we have two choices, the bang or the whimper, or we discover that the whimper is the climate change one, but we're gone. This is the way the world ends, or the world doesn't have to end because we, the people, can discover that we are the hero, and we can tap into that rise of the human spirit that all of you are talking about here. And we can be part of that incredible birth of happiness and joy and connecting of humanity. And we can begin to create world law. I mean, not law that's the oppressive law we see where cops are doing illegal things, where presidents are doing illegal things, but where law really serves us, where police are community-based, working with the community, marching with the marchers, being part of the people, where we as a humanity are an incredibly inventive species, and we have the capability to come together and rebuild our world in beautiful ways. So let's continue on this adventure.
Yeah, I'm with you. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Arthur. Do you want to bring in our next guest?
I'd be honored to. So we have Sana Bobbin, that is a 21-year-old junior at the University of South Florida. She's currently serving as president of the Muslim Student Association and has previously served as the executive president of Muslim Youth of North America. Wow, welcome, Sana. So grateful for you to be here with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So have you and your fellow students participated in the movement to end racism and inequality? And do you think we will see real and lasting change in this area? Are you hopeful?
Absolutely. I think, when we lose hope, then we put ourselves in a bad situation. So we currently are in the midst of one of the largest civil rights movements in the world. And as a college student and as young folk in general, we have to make sure that we're agents of change. And as a college student and as an organizer, there is a role that we must play in supporting our Black brothers and sisters facing this grotesque type of oppression that we see videotaped, and every day new things are popping up, and it's really just atrocious. So I think that everyone individually, we have a responsibility to being an ally to the movement, and we need to take it onto ourselves to educate ourselves, to recognize our own biases, to recognize the way in which we benefit from an oppressive system, and to not be afraid to call out racially targeted speech, racism, and all this stuff when we see it. And that stuff, I think that on a personal level, we all have to do no matter what age you are, where you live, where you're from, anything like that. We have to make sure we do that introspection and find it in ourselves to acknowledge it. On a more organizational level, and then within college campus settings, I think we have to be a bit more proactive. Doing things like lobbying for increased Black enrollment, creating safe spaces for Black students and youth in general, and making the university more accessible to diverse student groups. I think that, you know, college students and young people, we're stepping up to the forefront of these important movements. And that's really, really, you know, motivating to see. It's exciting to see. The civil rights movement is no longer something that we just read in the textbooks and we look at in old black and white pictures. This is something that we're seeing happening right now. We're watching it manifest. We're watching it on the news. And for the first time, we're seeing it, you know, especially the young generation. This is something I don't think I've ever seen such a unified movement like this in my lifetime. And so there's such a large participation from younger people in this movement. And I think that in itself is a really hopeful sign that this is the beginning of the fight and that we're committed to seeing it through. And within, you know, the organization that I work with on campus at USF, we have a quite large international student population, diverse an amount of students. And so we've been trying to make sure that we allow resources in order for everyone to be their best educated self, in order to be, you know, actively anti-racist, and in order to be able to, you know, put towards whatever resources we can in order to further this movement. And I definitely think, you know, the youth should be at the forefront of all these things. A lot of people say like the youth is the tomorrow, we're the future, but we really have a place in the movements that are happening now. And, you know, it's our place and our role to step up. And even, you know, going back to my faith, in the Islamic faith, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he was he was a huge advocate for youth being involved and empowering youth. And even in that time, it was told that he would give responsibilities and roles to youth to lead over people, even senior members of society. So it's a great inspiration to see that, you know, even the most respected person in our faith believed that youth, we have power, we have a voice, and we have, you know, the ability to make change. So I'm very hopeful. I feel so happy to see this coming from all generations. I feel so hopeful, and I feel so blessed to be in a panel with such amazing people who have done so many amazing things. People in my generation, me and myself, we look up to all of you guys, and we really, you know, that's where we're learning all of this from. You know, it doesn't just come from anywhere. So yeah, I do think that there's change coming, and hopefully college campuses everywhere, and I do know college campuses everywhere are engaging in being anti-racist, in, you know, helping the climate crisis and all this stuff. And I hope that it progresses.
That's so beautiful. And you work with your mom also with the work that she's doing too?
Grandma. This is my grandma.
Oh, your grandma. Oh my gosh, she's so young. I didn't know that your grandma. How beautiful is that you get to work with your grandma?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, no, I feel very blessed. She's definitely someone who I saw from a very young age being very involved in, movements that are for people, for less fortunate people, and then also for movements that need allies and stuff like that. And so I think that's a lot of the way, like, we were raised to give and to try to give our time in the best way possible. And so we've worked together on a few things in the past. Now I've gotten a bit older. So what was the event called? The International Day of Peace. Oh, yeah. I was also involved in that. There was a good amount of students involved in that event as well. March together. Oh, I didn't go to that. But yeah, so absolutely. It's a huge blessing to be able to do it as a family and to be raised within that. And yeah, so she's definitely a lot of my inspiration, and we do a lot of things together now, which is really, really enjoyable and really fun as well.
It's so beautiful. Do you feel that this will be a way that we can really see lasting change when we do work together like this?
Yeah,
combining the elders with the youth.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there is obviously there's place for youth. We have to step up, but we also need to learn from generations who have been working on this for a long time. You know, this is not, we don't need to reinvent the wheel when it comes to, you know, fighting injustices. We've had people, we know people have been fighting injustice their entire life and who have been allies to certain causes and movements. And so if you're denying yourself that sort of education and learning from those people, then you're kind of, you know, you're disabling yourself and being the best ally you can be. You know, I think that we have to be able to collaborate. We have to use each other's strengths and we have to push each other up. And that's the only way that change can really happen. It's not individualistic change, but it's community-based change and society-based change as well.
That's so
That's
beautiful.
Great. Thank you.
So Rick, I'd love for you to bring in our next guest, and thank you so much, Sana. What an inspiration you are for our world. Oh, what a blessing. So grateful.
Definitely. So Amy Renshaw inspires a generation of world citizens as senior editor of 2 publications of the Baha'is of the United States, and as well as Brilliant Star magazine and Brilliant Star online. With a focus on collaboration and consultation, she coaches staff, freelancers, contributors, and kid bloggers. Welcome to the broadcast, Amy Renshaw.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this invitation today. I mean, you can probably see the sun coming in my window. I don't know a good place to sit here.
Oh, that's good. That looks good right there. So I have a question for you. What does this movement for racial and economic justice mean for you? And how does it connect to your work with the Baha'is in terms of inspiring a generation of world citizens?
Well, I would say that the Baha'i faith is centered around the idea of the oneness of humanity. So Baha'is and the Brilliant Star content has been focused on promoting racial justice, economic justice, universal education, unity for all people. It underlies really everything we do. So it seems to me that the time has come, time is long past actually, and change is inevitable. I really can see a difference. When I listen to the conversation, you hear things that are different than what we used to hear. We're hearing more awareness of systemic racism, more awareness of the fact that it's not okay to just be not racist. You have to be actively anti-racist, as they were saying. So what we do at Brilliant Star is we have a website and a magazine. It's published by the Baha'is of the United States, but it is for kids of all faiths. The content is created to promote universal virtues, such as, you know, kindness, care for the environment, elimination of prejudice, honesty. And what we're doing is trying to inspire these, you know, the new generation of world citizens. Probably the easiest way for me to explain what Brilliant Star does is if I could show you our website. Should I do that now? Okay. Oh, I need to have screen sharing enabled. Okay. So this is Brilliant Star's website at www.brilliantstarmagazine.org. And on our homepage, the goal is, again, to just inspire and educate kids about world citizenship. So on the website, kids can access all kinds of content. We have videos. For example, we recently did a video with astronaut Dr. Peggy Whitson, who shared some of her wisdom about, you know, achieving your goals. So kids can access videos. We have an art app. They can take quizzes. This is one example. We have a climate change quiz where kids can log on and instantly get their results when they answer questions about climate change. And our website is designed to allow kids to follow their own curiosity. So when they connect with, some content like this, like the climate change quiz, after they're finished with it, there's related content below it. And there's also other topics over here on the side that they can explore if they want to get into, for example, cultures, bullying, friendship, things like that. So we also, another part of our website is that we have about 40 full issues of our print magazine are available on the website. This is in a section that we call the Luminous Library. So these are cover images of Brilliant Star issues. And there, like I said, there are about 40 of them here. Each one is 32 pages long, and just a variety of content that kids can learn from. And our goal is to make our content interactive and accessible for kids of all faiths. So we try to take these big concepts like eliminating racism, promoting care for the environment, establishing world peace, things like that, and kind of boil it down for kids, not to talk down to kids, but to make it engaging for kids who are ages 7 to 12, roughly. This is an example of our most recent issue. This issue was focused on ending racism. And we tried to make each page interactive. So for example, here are a set of games that kids can play either in person or virtually that illustrate what privilege looks like. We have puzzles and stories. This is one of my favorites. Letting kids know about these important concepts. And we really, we feel like everything has a spiritual solution. Climate change, racism, inequality, those are all spiritual problems. And people, especially kids, can develop the virtues and strengths to deal with them. Another part of Brilliant Star's work is focused on supporting the work of parents and teachers. We revere teachers and parents. And so in the parents and teachers section of our website, we have a variety of topics with content about how they can encourage kids. So we are working with both kids and parents and teachers. For example, one of our recent pieces that we posted on the parents and teachers section is this collection of content that empowers kids to save the earth, where they can click, teachers could click on these links and go to all these different kinds of articles, stories, and activities that we've developed about empowering kids to save the planet. And I do just want to mention that Brilliant Star, we have a complimentary subscription that's available to all teachers or counselors in the US. So all people would need to do if they're interested in a complimentary subscription is to come to the website in the About section and complete this request to get a complimentary subscription for teachers. So that's Brilliant Star in a nutshell.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. So exciting. And those images just jump out at you. It's like incredible.
Thank you. We have some pretty amazing artists that we work with.
Yeah, that's fabulous. So shall we bring in our final guest for the show today?
Yes, that'd be great. And thank you, Amy. That was so inspiring. What an exciting, I can't wait to share that with our summer camp and our local rec centers and our schools to share that. That looks amazing. I can't wait to really dive into that more. So we have Carissa Raskin, who is the Civic Collaboration Specialist in the City of Gainesville's Department of Strategic Initiatives. Wow, Carissa, so excited to hear from you. By crossing institutional boundaries and breaking down the silos that separate our community, Carissa works to foster collaboration between diverse local stakeholders in order to build mutually beneficial partnerships that can improve our collective well-being. Wow, thank you so much, Carissa. You are another brilliant star. Could you please talk about what it means to be a civic collaboration specialist in Gainesville, Florida? And how do you address the inequalities that are behind these protest movements?
Sure. Thank you, Karen. It's a pleasure to be here. So yeah, my role in the city of Gainesville, which is in Florida, is exactly as you mentioned. It's really to build partnerships for our collective capacity. I think before I get too much into my role, it might help to explain kind of why I'm in this position and a little bit about just myself. So I am one of 8 kids. I am the second oldest of 8, family in Connecticut. And I learned very, very young what it meant to be collaborative and cooperative and to be a team player. You cannot exist in a family of 8 without being a good team player. And as we have grown up, I've recognized the differences between me and my siblings, and only have recognized that our differences make us stronger as a family, make us more supportive. And I try to take that knowledge and that philosophy into the work that I do. I think, as kids, sometimes we would bicker and argue and it didn't always get along, but being able to reflect on those times and recognize how really we were making each other stronger based on our differences. I think that's something that, largely can be taken as a philosophy for our greater society. And I've been privileged enough to, work in various organizations over my life, one of them being the Roots and Shoots program of the Jane Goodall Institute. Got my undergrad in environmental studies, got my graduate degree around community development. And so all of these little pieces kind of led me to this place of understanding our collective capacity is so much greater than working in silos. We can do so much more effectively when we just work together. And so my role at the city, which honestly, I'm very proud to work for the city of Gainesville. There aren't many cities that I know of who have a civic collaboration specialist. My position is fairly new and fairly unique. And so really what it does is, we look internally at the city of Gainesville. We we have our functions like our police department, our fire department, our public works department, all the standard things that most city governments and municipal governments would have. And so we need to reflect internally, how are we collaborating as a city to make sure that we are best serving our local community? How are we making sure that we know what's going on and that we are using the best messaging and the right tools? And then in addition to that, we need to recognize that sometimes, power can exist within city structures or just government entities itself. And we really want to leverage the power of the community. We don't want to sit above, we want to sit with. And so we look for opportunities to bring those community partners in with us to really leverage the ideas and the solutions of how to make our community as healthy, as strong, as resilient a place as it can be. And honestly, there's nobody better to answer those questions than the people living in the community themselves who are facing the struggles that sometimes outsiders try to come in and solve. There isn't necessarily a problem to solve that can be solved unless you live the experience. And so it's kind of a haphazard way of talking about the work that I do. But I work a lot with the University of Florida, which is our flagship institution here in Florida, as well as nonprofit organizations, large scale ones, such as, our local branch of the United Way, our local chapter of our community foundation, but then also, the small scale nonprofits that maybe have 1.5 times staff members, some who don't have any staff members, whose passion really lies in just doing good for our community, who often have grown up here and have seen the challenges. And so being able to look at what everybody brings to the table, because I truly believe that everybody who shows up at the table comes with a skill, a gift, knowledge, experience that needs to be celebrated. You know, sometimes we have a tendency in our society to celebrate certain credentials more than others. We very much like to give those three letters, PhD, a very high regard. And while certainly they deserve to be highly regarded, I don't know that they deserve to be any more highly regarded than someone who has the cultural experience, the very relative perspective of what's going on in their community to be able to contribute that knowledge and expertise, I would call it, to solving our problems. And so my job is to be able to find all of those people and get to explore all of those skills that they have, bring them together to solve these problems for mutual benefit and in a reciprocal way. So to answer the second part of that question regarding kind of how we address inequities, I think just working in a collaborative forum in general, and the fact that our city government has celebrated this need for partnership, inevitably we are striving to break down those inequities, those silos that keep us apart. And whether we're talking racially, generationally, disciplinarily, proximally, you know, there are so many different ways that we can put ourselves into a category and use labels to define who we are. And so part of my job is acknowledging some of those labels exist, because I don't think we get anywhere by not acknowledging it, but then also recognizing the value that can, you know, that comes within each of those labels, as well as the hindrance of it, and allowing space for everybody to join in that collective conversation. Yeah, I guess the one final thought I would add, a way that I like to describe my work is, you know, we could all sit around recreating the wheel, and we could create a whole lot of wheels that don't function very well, or we could just decide to work together, build a really effective wheel, probably a lot more quickly, and then continue on to build the whole wagon. So with that,
beautiful.
Thank you.
I hope that answered your questions. If you have,
you are so brilliant. What an amazing, amazing person you are. I am so honored to be in your presence. I just want to say you really are so articulate in the way that you speak, and you deserve a really big platform, because what you're saying is so important. And I just want to say what some of the audience members have been saying about each of you. Rita Marsh in Colorado says all presenters and their projects are so inspirational. It's such a joy to hear the positive projects that are alive, thriving, and serving the focus of we. Thank you, Rick, for having this vision.
Thank you, Rita. That's fabulous. And Carissa, it was so wonderful to hear that you came through working with Roots and Shoots. You know, Jane Goodall has been a supporter of We the World. I didn't know I don't know if you knew that, but she has, you know, really for over 15 years now, close to 20 years, she's been part of our growth, and she was one of the honorary co-chairs of the launch of 11 Days of Global Unity. And Roots and Shoots has been a partner organization for many years. You know, we have a children and youth campaign, and so we've worked with folks from that. So,
other than my parents, I can confidently say that Dr. Jane Goodall has been probably the most influential person in my life. So I am very, very honored to be, you know, talking amongst a panel that she would support. That means the world to me.
Yeah, and there's a program that we did with our dear friend Carol Hart, who was one of the people that helped to launch Sesame Street, and it's called An Urgent Message from Your Children. And it's actually an invitation from children 12 years old and younger to other children to record videos about their fears, their concerns, and their hopes for the future of the planet, especially regarding the environment. And Jane Goodall was in support of that program. And the first video that we made, where we interviewed about 29 kids, like about half of them came from a Roots and Shoots class. So, and if anybody's interested in checking that out, just go to weyourchildren.org.
And I've just placed all these links into the chat. So anybody who would like to learn more about these organizations and these beautiful, beautiful people who are behind those organizations, you just click on those links and you'll be able to get information so you can connect. We're also going to move into a round table, like a little circle here. We open up the circle where we can answer that question. What can we do together that we can't do on our own?
Yeah, so now's the opportunity to talk about, you know, how can we move from the movement for racial and economic justice and the pandemic crisis to create the kind of we-based society that we've been talking about, where the collective well-being depends on the well-being of each and every member of the society. So any thoughts of anyone? Maybe let's go back to some of the folks who haven't talked in a while, like Sue and Arthur and other folks. Any thoughts about what we've heard so far? Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
Unmute yourself, honey.
Okay. Well, I am just so thrilled to have all of you here because I can see how you fit into the collaborative storytelling adventure that we're putting together for September. And again, we have the 11 days of global unity from September 11th through the International Day of Peace, which you mentioned, Sana and Akila, on September 21st. So what I'm doing is writing a children's story that kind of takes all of these themes and wraps them up in a very engaging and entertaining way, I think. We have certainly we're after this idea of world citizenship and healing the ills that are affecting our human family. And Arthur, I love the idea of your leaven. Helping just a few people is all it takes to help raise this whole loaf of bread, as you say. And the idea of the wheel is part of our plan, that we have 4 wheels that we are building on a story wagon that is kind of one of the stars of the show. And the wheels represent, well, we'll start with 11 days of global unity. And so there's a wheel with 11 spokes. And as we go through these 11 days of global unity, we have 1 spoke at the top on each day. And so we get to talk about that one and see what it looks like in action. Another one is the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has named for the year 2030. And so to help everybody get involved in whatever their heart tells them they want to work on. So we have that going. There's also 100 drawdown solutions for bringing the excess CO2 and stopping putting any more in, so that we can have the Earth's temperature coming down by the year 2050. But we have to start right now. And that's 3. I'll have to think of what the 4th one is. I can't remember it right now. But okay. There's a story there.
Right. And so, Arthur, any thoughts here?
Yeah,
everybody?
I to collaborate with each one of you, and we can follow up. My email is just my name, arthurkanagas@gmail.com. You can see that right on the screen. But, you know, I love, well, Brilliant Star Magazine. We have this wonderful bully-proof program. I'd love to collaborate with you about a children's book. And Sue, who's talking about the children's book, I was just listening to a Jack Canfield seminar this morning on publishing and making children's books. He's got a new one called The Big Bad Bully, which is pretty cool because the big bad bully is your own reflection of the mirror that, that downplays it. It's a very interesting little story. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to collaborate with Agila and on her connecting of humanity and with connecting connecting people in Gainesville, Florida, across the silos that separate our community, and joining with Sana and reaching out to the youth around America, and so many of each one of you. Let's collaborate, because we can do more together than we can separated. So each one of you are beautiful people, and I'm glad we're collaborating with Rick and Karen on your wonderful show.
This was Sue's vision. This show was Sue's vision, and she asked Rick and I to help her with it. But she is the creator of this beautiful Welcome to We show, and she has been working on this for years. And really, it's such an honor. I want to just say, really, if we want to talk about what we can do together that we can't do on our own, it's basically nothing. We can do just about nothing that we can do by ourselves. I used to feel like I was on the island of kindness, and there were so many people that I didn't know were out in this world. And when I came into the We team and met Rick, first of all, I just want to just acknowledge the vision that Rick had of We the World. Over 20 years ago, he wanted to create a place where everybody felt welcome. And I think that he's really, really accomplished that. And when anybody is watching this, if you go to we.net, you can be a volunteer. You can be on our We Team family. And this is, anybody is welcome to come into those meetings and to discuss. And like Desmond Tutu said, you have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have, but when we put our gifts together, we have everything. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about how can we collaborate? How can we continue this conversation?
Yeah. So how about you, Amy? Any thoughts? And
I was excited. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, and if you have any comments, and also how can people connect with you to collaborate going forward?
I was excited to see the videos that you mentioned from the kids. I want to be sure to check those out. I think anything we can do to give kids a voice is what will help us to solve these problems of the world. And people can collaborate with Brilliant Star by putting kids in touch with us. In each issue of the magazine, we have little mini interviews with kids from around the world where we ask them, about their goals and dreams and their thoughts about these topics. And as I mentioned, I think I also work with kid bloggers who can blog on our website about, whatever they're really passionate about. We had a blog recently from a girl who she was writing about her life on the farm and, everything she did with their animals and stuff like that. So anything we can do to give kids a voice and to help them express themselves more, because they're the ones who have the answers.
And then, are you working on any videos or movies or TV shows with kids, working on putting together any kind of a production?
Doing videos with kids and especially inviting submissions from kids is on our wish list. We're a pretty small nonprofit, so there's not much we've done along those lines yet, but we're moving in that direction.
Do you have an online show too, Amy?
No, I was just, we have some videos on our website. We've just started doing these interviews with.
I'd like to volunteer to help you.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
I'd like to, I do a show called Miss Kindness's Global Neighborhood. I'm a singer and songwriter, kind of a Weird Al Yankovic of kindness and compassion. And so I have a show that I do that's all about helping us to see that we're a global neighborhood. And so I think everything, all of you, I would love to have on my show, first of all, but also if any of you are interested in having a show on our platform, we have I'm the co-founder of a very popular broadcasting channel called Spirituality Gone Wild. And we have a huge audience that would be really loving all of what you are all talking about. So you can reach out to me at Karen Palmer at wetheworld.org. I'm also the coordinator for the women's theme. So if you want to work with We the World and under the women's theme, you'll be working directly with me. So I would love you all to come on in and be partners with us. And you can come in as an organization, or you can come in as, you know, just an individual to volunteer. And I highly recommend it because it really opens a lot of doors, especially if you want to, you know, cross promote and collaborate.
Karen, that's very nice at what you're saying that, because, you know, I have had this dream to do this because we are third generations here, and the thing that teach my children, grandchildren, everybody in our community to be global citizens. That's why I like Arthur's movies title so much. But we have to be
awesome.
We just have to be, and you know, people ask me, the minute they see you, like, where are you from? I'm like, you know, I came to this country when I was 16. I'm like, I'm an eggplant. You can put it into eggplant parmesan. You can put it into baba ganoush. I'm just an eggplant, you know. You just have to, people always, and I'm very claustrophobic, so I don't like to be cornered into situations. And I just feel like, you know, you always take a person who has they might be coming from some country, maybe 10 generations ago, whatever, and then they like tell you belong there. But you know, you're a global person. You might have developed into so many things. So I feel like sometimes as a grandmother, I would like to have all the children around me and just have a grandmother chat with them. And I wanted to do like a podcast for that. So I will definitely reach out.
Reach out to me. Yeah, just email me, or I'm on social media as Mindful Media Mom on all social media.
Yeah, they just
find me everywhere.
They're them, whoever they are. They can be anything they want to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, my grandchildren.
Well, that would be great to do something with Brilliant Star too, like doing a podcast together. I teach children to get comfortable on the microphone. So I go into underprivileged areas to help children to get comfortable in front of this, talking in front of the camera, the microphone up, and you know, so I would just love to help you.
We were going to do a dance show for Sue's program.
Yeah, and Sue and I are working together. Sue and I collaborated, and we designed a musical coloring book together.
Yeah, so we're going to. I mean, we're going to put on a live dance for that 20.
The 11 gardens of global unity.
They love to be performers. They love to do everything. They see all this. They want to be all that stuff. But at the same time, we shouldn't put them into little holes and say, you belong here, you belong there, you're this, you're that. We should let them be what they want to be. So
yeah, I always say if we can give children the safety that they feel safe enough to express themselves,
let them fly.
We're going to have a different world.
They should be allowed to fly in any color they want.
Absolutely.
And what do you think, Sana? Any thoughts about what we've been saying? And
I mean, like, I agree with all of it. All sounds super exciting. I think, you know, we have such amazing people on these panels, and collaborations would be so amazing, and that we could, this is a great example of how that different people with different gifts can come together and support each other in different ways, in different capacities and stuff like that. I think it's just really amazing. I think that in this time, in this age now, we kind of see the value of a collectivist society and a community-based society, especially in light of, you know, the pandemic. You know, individualism is not helping us anymore. You know, we need to definitely work as a group, as a collective, and care about each other's health and care about each other's livelihood and all this stuff. And so, yeah, no, I'm 100% all for it. Yeah.
And Carissa, I love how you introduced yourself, that you had 8 children in your family and that you had to learn how to collaborate. I think that's so beautiful because it's so true. And I think that we all need to start in our own families, because that's what ripples out. And we start with, well, we start with ourselves. I always say inner peace for world peace. So if we don't have our own inner peace, then we won't have world peace. But as soon as we have our own inner peace and we feel, I say, self-kindness, self-compassion, you know, first fill your own cup and then you can give somebody something to drink. But honestly, you know, what you're talking about is so beautiful. It's so important. And like I said, anybody who would like help with getting their platform out there, getting their message out there, Rick and I would be honored to help. And, you know, and I know, Sue, you bring so many amazing guests. And Sue, you are such a gift to our planet. What a blessing we have in you sharing for our world. I mean, it's just incredible. It's really beautiful. Deep bow.
So Carissa, any thoughts?
And the best way for people to contact you too.
Right, and yeah, if you want to give a website or anything like that.
Sure. I mean, the best way for people to contact me would be my last name, so Raskin, and then my first initial K, the number 1 at cityofgainesville.org. And yeah, I mean, I very much wholeheartedly agree with everything that's being said. I do strongly feel that, you know, youth have such a opportunity to be agents of change. I think so, you know, there's the expression, kids say the darndest things. Well, sometimes kids say the wisest things too, and they don't always, you know, have a filter. And so they will just say what is on their mind and the things that don't make sense to them. As Akila was saying earlier on, you know, our youth are growing up and saying, why are things this way? Why are things that way? And they question. And some of the patterns in society that we've just grown more accustomed to, it's like that box in the corner of the room, you know, it's there long enough, you forget that it's there. You see it every day, but you don't really see it. And so having those fresh eyes from the youth to be able to say, hey, what's that box? That doesn't look like that belongs here. Maybe we should, you know, either do something different with it, move it out. I don't know. But it calls into question the things that sometimes we forget to question. And I think, you know, I unfortunately don't have the opportunity to work with youth as much in my role as I think I would like to. But, you know, the ability to leverage our community as a whole, looking how we can use those cross-generational divides and bringing youth together with our grandparents and across different cultures. I think, you know, there's a lot of power in the conversations that can come out of that, and a lot of collaboration.
Right. And, you know, one thing that I remember when I interviewed some of the folks from Roots and Shoots on past 11 days of Global Unity telesummits, they talked about community mapping. And I'm wondering if you use that concept in what you're doing now, and maybe you want to explain what that means. You remember that, right, from Roots and Shoots? The idea of mapping a community and the resources and putting the people with the various resources together. I think it sounds like that's a big part of what you're doing these days with your job.
Yeah, we I've referred to it as asset mapping before, and it's really the philosophy of, you know, we could focus only on the problems, we could look at all of the things that don't exist, all of the gaps, or we could look at our community and celebrate the things that we do have, and looking at, you know, proximally where they exist around our community, and then within what organizations and where in the, you know, hierarchy of political clout they exist, and being able to plug people into those different resources. I think social capital and resource mobilization are some of the, you know, most critical things that collaboration can bring to a society. And so yes, absolutely. Resource mapping and asset mapping is critical. Yeah.
Definitely. That's great. And, you know, we're doing that with We the World now. We have a large number of people who've been signing up. And so we kind of have to do that mapping concept with people in an organization. And I'm sure, you know, all of you have been, had those moments when you have to kind of figure that all out. One of the things we said when we were launching 11 Days of Global Unity, which is, it's going on 16 years ago at this point, amazingly. Our rule of thumb was we can only move as fast or at the speed of relationship, you know? So it's like your relationships define how fast and, you know, how far and how fast you can go. So that's another kind of way of looking at the maps. So
in yes. relation to that, I think if we can only go as fast as our relationships allow us to go, I think relationships can only progress as long as there is trust and reciprocity. I think trust is one of the fundamental issues, and rightfully so in our society. You know, we have a lot of these inequities, and there should be broken trust, and rebuilding that, taking the time, having the patience to build relationships based on trust so that we can, you know, move towards a better future together. I think that's critical.
Definitely. So I have a few announcements about things coming up. Maybe I'll get into that a bit. The next Welcome to We show will be in August, and these shows are always on the third Tuesday of the month. So this next one will be August 18th. And to see what else is coming up for us and our many partners and allies, please check our free public international calendar, which is known as the Global Unity Calendar. So if you go to globalunitycalendar.org, it's a unique calendar because not only is it free and public, meaning anyone can post their events on it. Of course, there's an approval process, but anyone can initiate that. But also the calendar is synchronized with other organizations. So when you post on our calendar, it shows up on other websites as well. Another thing is that we are approaching 11 Days of Global Unity, which was mentioned earlier. And that's September 11th through September 21st, which is the UN International Day of Peace. What many groups are calling Peace Weekend is going to be that weekend, since the International Day of Peace falls on a Monday. So we're calling, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday leading up to that Peace Weekend. And We the World and and many other groups invite you to be part of it. Unity Earth and Unify and Compassion Games and all kinds of groups are coming together to make this really incredible 11 Days of Global Unity and a spectacular International Day of Peace. In fact, some people are looking to this year to put International Day of Peace as an international holiday that is celebrated around the world. It's already celebrated, but it isn't on those calendars yet. But we would like to make that happen. So that's a big thing. So to collaborate with We the World and the We campaign, you can do that as an individual or an organization. And you can go to the web address we.net/partner. And there you can sign up as an individual to join the We team, or an organization to be a partner and ally. And of course, we.net, you can learn more and find out just about everything that's going on there. Anything you want to mention, Arthur, yes, go ahead, Arthur.
I'd just like to mention that if people would like to see our We Are One film, they can just go to OneFilms, ONEFILMS.com, and that'll take you to the free YouTube site to watch We Are One, which has some of our short films and then a shortened version of The World Is My Country, so you can get to see that movie. And we can also go to theworldismycountry.com for the full movie, but go ahead and go to that short one, onefilms.com.
Great. And you know, media is so important. I mean, for me, media is probably at the top of the list. And I and many of the folks on this meeting, this show today, have been doing what we have said for many years, which is be the media. Be the media, because the messages of the media become the culture, the fabric of our culture. So media is really essential. Anyone else want to give a website, or Karen? Oh yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, I welcome collaboration from anyone. There's a contact form on our website that people can get in touch with us, www.brilliantstarmagazine.org, or they can reach us by email at brilliant@usbnc.org. Thanks.
Great.
Yeah, and for me, I'm so excited to offer that Spirituality Gone Wild is, you can go to spiritualitygonewild.com. And if you'd like training to be your own host so that you can be a host of your own show, we'll help you with that. And if you would like to just be a guest, you can reach out to us through the website there also. You can also reach me directly at Karen Palmer at wetheworld.org for any collaboration ideas. And I am so honored to just know that all of you are on the planet doing the work that you're doing. So I just want to say thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you all so much.
And Rick, do you want to send us out?
Yes, and Akila, what did you say?
I said, come and have tea with me, all of you. All welcome to come here and have tea, and I'll make the delicious dinner for you. That's all I can offer you.
That would be wonderful.
Where are you?
I'm in Gainesville, one of the most beautiful towns in all of USA. I love
that's
Gainesville.
So wonderful. And I
I'm
remember,
gonna take you up on that.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I love to have my guests come, and I'll make tea, and we'll have wonderful dinner.
I'm coming out to Ocala, so I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna come out and find all you.
I've been telling Sue to come. She still has to come have tea with me. Yes. So.
Well, I did have wonderful tea with you one time, and we keep saying we're going to do that again.
Arthur, do you know Michael Wolf and Alex Kroner with UPF? Does Arthur know that? Did he hear that? Arthur, do you know Alex Kroner and Michael Wolf with UPF?
No, I'd like to know more.
I'll make sure I send you. They're wonderful. They do documentaries also. They do a lot of documentaries on Islam. They did the Sultan and the Saint, and they had it on PBS. You will love their documentaries.
Oh,
and they
I would love to have that. Thank you so much.
Are you in California?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm just below San Diego in Mexico, an hour south of San Diego, in La Misión, Mexico, out on the ocean. And my email is right there on the screen. Arthur.
I'll send you their contact. They are in California. They're in Hollywood area.
Well, we're only
amazing,
2 hours away, and I drive. My editor's in LA, and we go to LA from time to time. So
you will love them, and they'll love you. I'm going to put you in touch with me. I work a lot with them.
Great, wonderful. Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and Arthur, I remember we had a wonderful meal and talk when you were in New York City, and we had a long lunch and talk. So that was great to connect with you at that point. And now we're doing it over.
Yeah, well, that was an exhilarating trip. Both, well, connecting with you was a real highlight, but also I met with the president of HBO documentaries. And he had invited me out there to meet with him about our film, The World Is My Country. And he said, I have good news and bad news. The good news is I love your film. I was hoping when you came out here, we could work on figuring out how to, when we could get it on the show and so on. But HBO has just been taken over by Time Warner. My job's being eliminated in a week, where our whole division is being eliminated. And sadly, I don't think the new corporate bosses would run your movie. So we got very close to being out on HBO, but right now we're just putting it free there on YouTube because we haven't yet gotten the distribution. But there's this whole media conglomeration going on, and we need to come from the grassroots up with some great media.
Exactly.
Anyway, so that to go to the meeting with you, Rick, and that really brought my spirits back up after I was a little deflated.
Right. So we had time to hang out and talk about all the future plans. So it's kind of a tradition. We end the show, the Welcome to We show, with a quote from our dear friend Jonathan Granoff, who was nominated to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, and he spoke at the launch of We.net and the launch of the We campaign of We the World. And the last thing he said was, "I hope that we expands so much that there's no longer any them." So thank you.
All right.
It's all about we.
It's all about we.
Okay.
Thank you all.
All about we. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody who's watching, and thank you, everybody who's commented, and thank you all the wonderful people who are sharing this broadcast. It's such an important message. We're so grateful for all of you.